On January 13, 2026, Wisynco officially opened a $35 million mega plant in Lakes Penn, St. Catherine. And this is not just another factory. This is a brewery and manufacturing facility built to fundamentally expand production capacity and push one of Jamaica's biggest beverage companies into a more aggressive growth phase. But here's the real question. Why bet $35 million right now, in this exact location? And what does Wisynco know about Jamaica's manufacturing future that most people are missing? In the next 15 minutes, I'm breaking down the numbers, the jobs, the strategy, the location logic, and what this could actually change for Jamaica's economy. Let's get into it. So first, what exactly did they build? This is the Devon H. Reynolds Brewery and Manufacturing Facility, named after Wisynco's late founder, located in Lakes Penn, St. Catherine. If you're not familiar with the area, Lakes Penn sits in the Portmore Industrial Corridor, already home to manufacturing operations, logistics hubs, and distribution centers. The key word here is brewery. This facility gives Wisynco the capability to brew beverages in-house, a strategic shift. Up until now, certain product categories would have required partnership arrangements or outsourcing. With this plant, they control the full production cycle for new Jamaican-made beverage lines. The company's positioning is clear. This investment expands production capability, boosts operational efficiency, and opens the door for new product innovation. Now let's talk location. Lakes Penn sits inside one of Jamaica's most important industrial corridors, close to major road networks, close to Kingston's ports, and close to large consumer markets in Kingston, Portmore, and Spanish Town. For a manufacturing company, that matters. Transportation costs are one of the biggest hidden expenses in production. Every extra mile, every extra hour on the road eats into margins. By building here, Wisynco shortens delivery times, reduces fuel exposure, and positions itself closer to both suppliers and consumers. This plant is where logistics efficiency meets scale, and that tells you this wasn't just a construction decision, it was a cost strategy. Let's talk impact. Wisynco has stated that this facility will benefit 285 people overall, 85 direct production roles, brewers, technicians, line operators, quality control staff, and maintenance crews, around 200 indirect roles, sales teams, distribution drivers, marketing staff, warehouse personnel, and administrative support. That's significant for Lakes Penn and Greater Portmore. When you add a facility of this scale, you create demand for trucking services, warehousing, packaging suppliers, maintenance contractors, and food vendors. More shifts, more trucks moving product, more purchase orders going out to local suppliers. That spillover is where manufacturing really multiplies. The Jamaica Information Service described this investment as a vote of confidence in Jamaica's manufacturing future. So why does brewery capability matter? First, category entry. Brewing opens the door to new beverage categories, including malt-based drinks, specialty sodas, flavored waters, and premium drink lines, potentially higher-margin products that consumers are increasingly willing to pay more for if they're locally made and marketed well. Second, supply chain control. When you own the brewing and bottling process end-to-end, you control quality, timing, and costs. You're not waiting on third-party manufacturers. You're not exposed to their capacity constraints or pricing changes. Third, product innovation. With in-house production, you can test new formulas, run limited batches, iterate quickly based on feedback. You move faster than competitors negotiating with external producers every time they want to try something new. Jamaica's beverage market is competitive but growing. Domestic consumer demand remains strong. Wisynco is positioning itself to capture that growth with products made right here, not imported or licensed from elsewhere. This plant doesn't just change what Wisynco makes, it changes how the company operates. Historically, Wisynco built its strength on distribution, branding, and scale across non-alcoholic beverages. This facility signals a deeper move into production-led growth. That matters because companies that control production have more pricing flexibility, better margins over time, and more resilience during supply shocks. It also shifts Wisynco from being primarily a fast-moving consumer goods distributor into something closer to a full manufacturing operator. That's a harder business to run, but it's also harder for competitors to copy. Once you've sunk $35 million into infrastructure like this, you're no longer thinking quarter to quarter. You're thinking decade to decade. Now the numbers, because this shows Wisynco's financial muscle and why they could afford this move. According to recent financial reporting, Wisynco's asset base 45.62 billion Jamaican dollars, cash holdings 6.34 billion Jamaican dollars, investment securities 5.67 billion Jamaican dollars, total liabilities 16.5 billion Jamaican dollars, shareholder equity 29.12 billion Jamaican dollars. That equity cushion is critical. It means they have the balance sheet strength to finance a US $35 million capital project without over-leveraging. They can absorb upfront costs and the ramp-up period without jeopardizing operational stability. Another angle, exports. In fiscal year 2025, Wisynco reported export revenues of 1.23 billion Jamaican dollars out of total revenues of 57.27 billion Jamaican dollars. That's just over 2% from exports. What does that tell you? Wisynco is overwhelmingly domestic-focused. This plant isn't primarily about exporting. It's about owning the Jamaican market, deepening penetration, and making sure that when Jamaicans reach for a beverage, it's a Wisynco product. To understand why this matters nationally, you have to understand Jamaica's manufacturing challenge. For decades, local manufacturers have struggled with high energy costs, logistics inefficiencies, and competition from cheaper imports. Many companies chose to stay small or avoided heavy capital investments altogether. That's why a US $35 million manufacturing investment stands out. It says, this company believes Jamaica can support modern, efficient, large-scale production. When one major player proves that model works, it lowers the barrier for others to follow. This plant is a test case for whether Jamaica's manufacturing sector can compete in the 2020s. Wisynco isn't stopping here. The company is planning a 60,000 square foot distribution center in Lacovia, St. Elizabeth, expected to employ around 50 people when completed. Lacovia is strategically located in south-central Jamaica, improving distribution reach to western and southern parishes. Radio Jamaica has also reported plans for a water plant and factory in Lacovia. If that moves forward, you're looking at a multi-site production and distribution network covering the island more efficiently. You don't build one big plant and stop. You build a network that minimizes costs, reduces delivery times, and gives you redundancy if one facility has issues. If Wisynco executes these plans, they'll have production in St. Catherine, distribution strength in St. Elizabeth, and the ability to service the entire island more cost-effectively than competitors operating from fewer locations. So how do you actually judge whether this plant succeeds? You look for three things. First, utilization. Low utilization is a red flag. High utilization signals strong demand and efficient operations. Second, product flow. Are we seeing new products tied to this facility entering the market consistently? Watch the beverage aisles. Watch for product launches, limited runs, new packaging. That tells you the innovation engine is working. Third, financial impact. Do margins improve over time? Does revenue growth justify the investment? You'll see this in Wisynco's quarterly earnings reports. If those indicators move in the right direction, this plant becomes proof that large-scale manufacturing can work in Jamaica. If they don't, it becomes a warning sign, not just for Wisynco but for anyone considering similar investments. Over the next 12 to 18 months, those are the metrics I'll be tracking. Every major investment carries risk. First, competition and market adoption risk. The beer and beverage space in Jamaica is crowded established players, imported brands with loyal followings, price-sensitive consumers. Wisynco needs products compelling enough to gain market share. Great production capacity doesn't automatically equal great sales. Second, operating costs. Energy costs in Jamaica are high. Input costs for raw materials can fluctuate. Foreign exchange exposure is real if you're importing ingredients or machinery parts. Those factors can squeeze margins, especially early on when you're ramping up to full capacity utilization. Third, execution risk. Building the plant is one thing. Operating it efficiently, scaling distribution, maintaining quality consistency, training staff, managing inventory, that's where ambitious manufacturing projects can stumble. Fourth, demand sustainability. Economic downturns, changing consumer preferences, or aggressive competitor moves could reduce demand faster than Wisynco can adjust production levels. Fixed costs don't disappear when demand softens. These are the variables worth watching. If energy costs spike or consumer demand doesn't materialize as expected, this facility could underperform relative to the investment. Here's my take. If this plant performs if it hits production targets, generates expected returns, and proves that Jamaica can support large-scale modern manufacturing, it becomes a blueprint. It shows other companies that betting on local production and building long-term capacity can work here. But if it struggles, if costs run too high, demand falls short, or operational challenges slow things down, it exposes the structural limits we still need to fix: energy costs, logistics efficiency, workforce development, regulatory friction. Either way, Wisynco's $35 million Lakes Penn mega plant is one of the most important manufacturing stories to watch in Jamaica right now. Keep an eye on Wisynco's quarterly results over the next year. Watch for product launches tied to this facility. Pay attention to hiring announcements and distribution expansion news. This story is just getting started. If you found this breakdown valuable, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives on Jamaica's economy and business moves that actually matter, and drop a comment. Do you think this plant will succeed, or are the risks too high? I'll see you in the next one.